Akira Tendo was once an incredibly enthusiastic and ambitious young man. Fresh out of college, he landed a job at an advertising company, carrying big dreams for his future. From the very first moment, he fell in love with Shizuka, a girl who seemed perfect to him in every way. That same night, his coworkers took him out to dinner to celebrate his first day at the company. Even Shizuka looked at him with admiration, making Akira believe he had found both love and the career of his dreams. But as soon as dinner was over, everyone suddenly got up and headed back to the office to work overtime. Naturally, Akira had to go with them. They worked through the entire night without a single break. When the sun came up the next morning, Akira kept working until evening. 2.5 days later, he finally made it home completely exhausted, collapsing onto his bed without even taking a shower. Even so, he forced himself to get up and go to work every single day, believing that his older coworkers had all gone through the same brutal routine. This exhausting lifestyle continued for an entire year. One by one, employees kept quitting the company, and no one was hired to replace them. As a result, Akira's boss dumped all the extra work on him, turning every single day into a living nightmare. The only thing that kept him going was seeing Shizuka, the woman he loved, although he never found the courage to confess his feelings. After being harshly scolded by his manager, Akira seriously considered quitting. However, the endless overtime left him with no time to look for another job. On top of that, he worried that resigning would only make life harder for his senior coworkers, and he wasn't even sure a new job would be any better. Crushed under the overwhelming pressure, Akira eventually became nothing more than a body going through the motions. Every day while waiting for the train, he found himself thinking that if there weren't safety barriers on the platform, he wouldn't have to go to work the next day. Then one morning, on his way to work, he suddenly witnessed an elderly janitor biting another janitor. Within moments, the victim turned into a zombie. As soon as the zombie spotted Akira, it lunged at him. In that instant, Akira's athletic instincts kicked in. He had been a skilled athlete in the past, and despite the zombie's ferocity, it couldn't catch him. Even then, Akira was still worried about being late for work, telling himself his boss was definitely going to yell at him again. After escaping, Akira climbed to the rooftop of a nearby building. From there, he watched airplanes exploding and crashing to the ground as the world literally collapsed before his eyes. Then it suddenly hit him. He never had to go to work again. As he stared up at the sky, a sense of relief washed over him like nothing he had felt in years. For the first time, he had an endless vacation. He pulled a carton of orange juice from his bag and took a drink. Suddenly, he remembered Shizuka. She had replied to his message almost immediately, and sent him her location, so he rushed to find her. Akira slid down a drain pipe and jumped onto his bicycle, pedaling as fast as he could through zombie-infested streets that looked like the end of the world. Just the thought of seeing Shizuka filled him with excitement, as if adrenaline had surged through his veins. When he arrived and rang her doorbell, she didn't answer right away, so he called out to her. Moments later, he stepped inside and found Shizuka in her pajamas, clinging tightly to his leg with fear written all over her face. Her unexpected reaction caught him off guard, and it took him a moment before asking what had happened. She pointed toward the bed behind her, where a zombie wearing a bathrobe stood waiting. After taking a closer look, Akira realized it was their company manager. At that moment, everything finally made sense. He understood why everyone had been forced to work endless overtime every day, and why Shizuka had always been the only one allowed to leave on time. The zombie manager charged at Akira, and the two began fighting. During the struggle, Akira accidentally grabbed the manager's toupee, pulling it off and exposing his bald head. Determined to protect Shizuka, Akira relied on the soccer skills he had learned back in college and tackled the manager. At that moment, Shizuka stepped forward carrying a thick Chinese dictionary and smashed it into the manager's head with enough force to crush his skull. Shizuka remarked that Akira had started the attack, but before he could fully process what had happened, she suddenly collapsed to the floor and began convulsing violently. She had been bitten before Akira arrived, and he could do nothing but watch as she slowly transformed into a zombie. Heartbroken, Akira watched the woman he loved become one of the undead. Despite the overwhelming grief, he finally confessed the feelings he had hidden for the past year. "I've loved you ever since my very first day at this company," he told her. With tears streaming down his face, Akira turned around and silently walked away. On his way home, he passed by the apartment of the neighbors who had once asked him to bring them supplies. This time, however, the apartment was covered in blood, and Akira immediately understood what had happened to them. He hurried back home, sat on the edge of his bed, and replayed Shizuka's words in his mind. If we're all going to become zombies eventually, then why not do everything we've always wanted to do before that happens? Inspired by her words, Akira grabbed a notebook and decided to write down 100 things he wanted to accomplish before turning into a zombie. He wrote that he wanted to confess his love, thoroughly clean his room, drink alcohol first thing in the morning without caring what anyone thought, and ride a motorcycle through the empty streets. He had already accomplished his confession, but there were still so many other things he wanted to experience. After writing down 11 wishes, he couldn't think of anything else. That's when he realized the person he used to be had disappeared, swallowed by the endless cycle of work. The next morning, Akira started by cleaning his apartment. After that, he headed to a supermarket and enjoyed a free shopping spree, tossing whatever he wanted into his cart without even looking at the prices. He knew the cashier had already turned into a zombie, so there was no one left to charge him. Afterward, he dyed his hair and painted graffiti around the city, checking off each completed item on his bucket list. While browsing through a fireworks store, he spotted a small motorcycle with the key still in the ignition. Without a second thought, he jumped on it and took off. Riding the motorcycle felt far more exciting than riding a bicycle. Akira then made his way to Tokyo Tower and lit the fireworks he had collected. The display was absolutely breathtaking, but he had no one to share it with. As the days passed, even though the world had come to an end, Akira felt happier and more at peace than ever before. One day, while relaxing on a rooftop, drinking beer and grilling meat, he realized he had run out of seasoning. So he headed back to the supermarket to grab some barbecue sauce. But the moment he stepped inside, a woman wearing a helmet suddenly tackled him to the ground. Akira immediately dropped to his knees and begged her to leave him alone, explaining that he was only there to pick up some barbecue sauce. The woman was left speechless by his response. Just as Akira was about to ask why she had attacked him, she noticed a cut on his hand, probably from when he had slammed a door earlier. Despite her sharp tongue, she had a kind heart. She carefully bandaged his wound, encouraged him and the others to take better care of themselves, and asked how they expected to survive if they wasted their time fooling around. At that exact moment, a truck driver who had previously passed out from drinking suddenly woke up. It turned out he had already been bitten before entering the store and had transformed into a zombie. The moment Akira saw his horrifying appearance, he quietly tried to slip away with the woman. Unfortunately, he accidentally knocked over a glass bottle, instantly drawing the newly turned zombie's attention. Meanwhile, on the other side of the store, Kenichiro was completely oblivious to the danger. He was happily playing dress-up games with 2 flight attendants and thoroughly enjoying their company. As they rode up the escalator together, a zombie's head suddenly appeared behind them. One of the attendants desperately tried to fight back but became trapped, while the other shouted at the driver, calling him a pervert as she shoved him away in an attempt to save her friend. With Kenichiro's help, they managed to pull her to safety, but the zombie driver had no interest in their beauty. Blood dripped from his mouth as he charged at them. Before they could react, he changed targets in an instant, and within seconds both flight attendants were transformed into zombies. Horrified by the transformation, Kenichiro screamed, and his cry immediately attracted the zombie driver's attention, sending the monster straight after him. On the other side of the store, Akira heard Kenichiro screaming and immediately wanted to go back to save him. The mysterious woman, however, decided to leave on her own, convinced that she had a better chance of surviving alone and that staying with others would only get her killed. With no other choice, Akira rushed back to rescue his friend. But against the powerful zombie driver, they were hopelessly outmatched, and the situation turned into a deadly game of cat and mouse throughout the store. Meanwhile, the woman who had gone off by herself grew frustrated with her bad luck after running into them. With the store completely surrounded, she activated the building's loudspeaker system to lure the zombies away and save herself. The noise succeeded in attracting the zombie driver, but it also drew the zombie flight attendant toward her. Frustrated, she muttered to herself, "This is exactly why I don't work with other people, and why I hate teamwork." A chaotic battle broke out between the 3 zombies and the woman. As more zombies were drawn in by the noise, she found herself moments away from being overwhelmed. Instead of escaping through the revolving door, Akira and Kenichiro came up with another plan. They set off the fireworks to distract the zombies and successfully rescued her. After saving her, the 3 of them escaped through the entrance and searched desperately for a vehicle. Akira remembered a camper van he had seen earlier, rushed over to check it, and was relieved to find the keys still inside. At first, the woman planned to leave by herself. But after Akira convinced her, and with the zombies closing in fast, she climbed into the camper and escaped with them. She was genuinely surprised that they had risked their lives to save her. As she listened to Akira talk about his dream of becoming a superhero, she called him an idiot. Even so, she finally let her guard down and introduced herself as Shizuka. Since they were all heading toward the aquarium anyway, they decided to continue traveling together. As time passed, Akira gradually returned to his old cheerful self. He even admitted that one of his dreams was to visit a hot spring surrounded by beautiful women. During one of their stops, he also grabbed a bottle of expensive wine from a store. Shizuka immediately rejected his ridiculous idea, but since she didn't have a driver's license, she had little choice but to continue traveling with them. Throughout their journey, Akira kept checking more items off his bucket list, including practicing yoga on a paddleboard in a lake beside the road. When Kenichiro accidentally fell into the water, Shizuka couldn't help but smile, a rare, genuine smile. Being around carefree people was slowly making her happy, even if she didn't realize it herself. They also went skydiving from a towering structure and later enjoyed another spectacular fireworks show together. One day before reaching the aquarium, the group stopped at a hot spring. While soaking in the warm water, they noticed countless fireflies glowing in the nearby forest and were captivated by the beautiful sight. Shizuka shyly thanked them for saving her, and after that, the bond between the three of them grew even stronger. They spent the evening drinking together before falling asleep inside their camper van. The following morning, as they were getting close to the seaside aquarium, one of the camper's tires suddenly blew out, causing the vehicle to crash into a tree. Akira slammed his head against the door and lost consciousness. It was later revealed that the tire had been deliberately punctured with a strip of nails, suggesting that someone at the aquarium didn't want them to arrive. When Akira finally woke up, he was shocked to see his former boss, Gonzo. Before Akira had arrived, Gonzo and his crew had already been at the aquarium when the zombie outbreak began, filming a television commercial. Akira also discovered that many of his former coworkers were there as well. Although food wasn't a problem inside the aquarium, everyone was expected to work. The security team had even turned zombies into a defensive barrier to keep other groups of survivors away. Since zombies didn't need food or wages, they were considered the perfect workers, reminding Akira of the kind of employee he used to be. Even after the apocalypse, the workplace hierarchy still existed inside the aquarium. Late arrivals like Akira and his friends were given nothing more than small food rations, while Gonzo and his team enjoyed fresh seafood every single day. Soon, Akira was reduced to nothing more than a servant whose only job was serving tea and water. Kenichiro couldn't stand seeing his friend treated that way. However, angering Gonzo meant being thrown out of the aquarium, so Kenichiro secretly repaired the camper's tire, gathered supplies, and made plans for the three of them to leave together. But under Gonzo's influence, Akira slipped back into his old workaholic mindset. He convinced himself that staying at the aquarium was the safest option and insisted that he needed to get back to work. While waiting inside the camper, Shizuka found Akira's bucket list. As she read through everything he had already accomplished, she noticed that the newest item read, "Travel all around Japan together." He had written it the night they visited the hot spring. Determined not to lose him, Shizuka and Kenichiro returned to the aquarium to convince Akira to leave with them. Unfortunately, Gonzo had already completely manipulated him. Shizuka spoke from the heart, explaining how spending time with Akira and Kenichiro had allowed her to experience carefree days and adventures she had never imagined possible. She admitted that this had become the happiest period of her entire life. She continued, "In a world where nobody knows if they'll survive tomorrow, there isn't one right way to live. If we stay here, we're nothing more than zombies waiting for our turn." Then she held up Akira's bucket list, reminding him of everything he still wanted to accomplish before becoming a zombie. At that moment, Akira remembered the empty, lifeless corporate life he used to live and compared it to the unforgettable adventures he had shared with his friends after the end of the world. Gonzo suddenly shoved Shizuka aside and stomped on Akira's notebook. That was the moment Akira finally came to his senses. He thanked Gonzo for everything he had taught him, but firmly declared that he was quitting for good. A boring life wasn't worth living when compared to chasing his dreams. Just then, terrified screams erupted from the main entrance. A zombie had slipped into a supply convoy and attacked the guards, allowing the zombies guarding the entrance to flood into the aquarium. Everyone fled toward the shark exhibit, completely unaware that the sharks had spent the past several days feeding on zombies, and had become zombie sharks themselves. Without warning, one of the zombie sharks leaped out of the tank and swallowed one of Gonzo's men in a single bite. Shizuka tried to calm everyone by saying that sharks couldn't survive on land. Unfortunately, she was wrong. Multiple legs suddenly sprouted from the shark's stomach, formed from the zombie bodies it had consumed, allowing the monstrous creature to walk directly toward the group. Akira and the others hid inside a storage room, only to realize that Gonzo had disappeared. In reality, he was hiding behind a forklift, trying to sneak away. But the zombie shark spotted him and immediately began chasing him, ignoring all of his desperate screams. Akira insisted on rescuing Gonzo because he dreamed of becoming a superhero and refused to abandon anyone, not even his terrible former boss. Before heading out, Kenichiro pointed toward a corner of the storage room and reminded everyone that superheroes needed proper equipment. Akira quickly suited up in his homemade hero outfit and charged out to save Gonzo. Unfortunately, his heroic moment didn't last very long because he had absolutely no idea how to defeat a zombie shark. As Akira and the shark charged toward one another, Gonzo tried escaping once again. At the critical moment, Kenichiro arrived driving the forklift and rammed straight into the zombie shark. Meanwhile, Gonzo fled while being chased by a horde of zombies, eventually running back toward the shark exhibit. Akira followed him into the middle of the zombie crowd and quickly discovered that although his protective suit could withstand zombie bites, they still hurt like crazy. Kenichiro soon realized that even the forklift wasn't powerful enough to stop the massive zombie shark, so he retreated to the storage room just in time. That's when Shizuka appeared carrying 2 portable music players. She turned them on to lure every zombie in the area toward the pool before shouting, "Give it everything you've got!" The loud music drew all the zombies into the water, trapping the zombie sharks against the walls of the tank. For a moment, everyone believed they were finally safe. Akira cheered in celebration. But suddenly, Gonzo stepped out of hiding and mocked the shark. In response, the monster smashed straight through the wall and launched him high into the air. Shizuka grabbed a flashlight, removed its battery, and revealed that she knew the shark's greatest weakness. She explained that sharks have extremely sensitive organs in their heads that allow them to detect prey, and a powerful electric shock could completely disable those organs. Since Akira's new suit didn't conduct electricity, he was the only one capable of carrying out the plan. After explaining the strategy, Shizuka handed the battery to Kenichiro, who bravely used himself as bait to distract the shark before tossing the battery to Akira. The instant the battery made contact, electricity surged through the creature's body, and the mutated zombie shark finally collapsed. After surviving the terrifying battle, Akira Tendo decided that, despite Gonzo's anger, he would leave the aquarium with his friends. He pulled out his bucket list and encouraged them to write down their own dreams as well. Finally, the 3 friends climbed into their camper van and set off together on a brand new journey across the post-apocalyptic world. As they drove away, they smiled at one another and said, "Let's make the most of every moment." And that's how the movie comes to an end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget that your opinion means a lot to us, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the channel.